This lecture is about the different types of statistics. So we're going to start up here with the first larger category of statistics, which is something called descriptive statistics. And like the name implies, descriptive statistics describe data. So if you've taken a statistics class, a general statistics class, pretty much the focus of a general overview statistics class is on this first type, these descriptive statistics. And within the larger category of descriptive statistics, there are two specific types. There's something called central tendency, and there's something called variability. So I have over here a sample data set. Let's assume that we asked 5 people to report how many siblings they had. And we've got 0, 2, 1, 2, and 10. Those are the numbers people reported. All right, so first let's talk about these measures of central tendency. So central tendency, if we ask what central tendency measures, it's really answering the question, what is a typical score? All right, so I want you to think about this data that's here, right? These number of siblings. How can we boil those 5 numbers down to a single number or a single score that best represents this set of data? Hopefully, some of you immediately thought of the mean, which is just a fancy term for the average. All right, so to calculate a mean, we're going to add up all 5 scores and divide by 5. So 0 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 10 is 15. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So the mean of this data set is 3. And in fact, the mean is a good, and in fact probably the most commonly used measure of central tendency. So when you calculate a mean, sometimes you calculate something else that also begins with an M. Hopefully some of you are thinking correctly that the next thing is called the median. So the median, if you remember, is the score in the middle. All right, so it's not the score right here, right? This is in the middle, but it's not this. In order to find the median, you first have to put the data in order from smallest to largest. Okay, so over here, I'm just going to reorder it. 0, 1, 2, 2, and 10. All right, so now these numbers are in order from smallest to largest. And the number that's in the middle is 2. So in this data set, the median is 2. And again, the median is another measure of central tendency. Now, it was really easy in this case because we had a single number in the middle, but sometimes you have an even number of observations. So you might have 2 numbers in the middle, right? There might not be 1 in the middle, there might be 2 numbers in the middle. And in that case, you're going to take the average of the 2 numbers in the middle. So we got mean, we've got the median. Hopefully you're thinking of the next thing that comes along with the mean and the median, which also begins with M, which is the mode. And the mode is simply the most common score. So you can see in this data set, we have one number that repeated twice, that's 2, and so that is our mode. And mode is the third really common measure of central tendency. It's possible that you're not going to have a mode, so you only have a mode if a number repeats. And it's also possible that you're going to have more than one mode. So if 2 repeated, but 1 also repeated the same number of times, you would have something that's bimodal. All right, so if you are not all that comfortable with these ideas of median and mode, I wouldn't worry too much about it because really in this class, the focus moving forward is going to be on the mean. So the second measure of central tendency is something called variability. And variability answers the question, how do the scores vary? All right, so let's go over here again and look at this data. Our lowest score is 0 and our highest score is 10. So we have a range of 10. So basically that's how the scores vary in this data set. But we can actually do some mathematical calculations to get a better sense of the actual variability of the data. And the calculations that we do are something called variance. which you may be familiar with, and something called standard deviation, which you are also possibly familiar with. So I can't actually give you really easy the answers for variance and standard deviation because it's not something I can do in my head. We actually need to do some more sophisticated calculating on that, and there will be a follow-up video on how to calculate variance and standard deviation. All right, so those are the two measures of of descriptive statistics. There's central tendency, which is what answers the question, what is a typical score? And there's variability, which answers the question, how do the scores vary? And if you've taken a previous statistics class, chances are this has been largely, if not exclusively, the focus of that class. The second type of descriptive statistics is the second type of statistics is something called inferential statistics, which, if we think about what this is, inferential statistics use data about the sample, so they use data on the sample to make inferences about the population. Now, there will be a follow-up video going into more detail on what I mean by sample and population, but for now, I'm just going to define it. All right, so inferential statistics use data on the sample, which are these 5 people, to make inferences about the larger population, which is the group that we drew this sample from. There's many, many, many types of inferential statistics. I'm going to talk about 3 right here. The first one is called the ANOVA, which is the analysis of variance. The second one is correlation and regression. And the third one is something called the chi-square. I know that looks like chi-square, but it's actually pronounced chi-square. Again, there's many different types of inferential statistics beyond these, but I put these 3 on here in particular because they will be the focus of our class. And once we get past the first 3 weeks, we're really not going to talk much about descriptive statistics at all, except we'll be calculating means all semester. But the focus of this class, pretty much from week 4 on, is on the ANOVA, correlation and regression, and the chi-square.